What's going on, guys? It's Fight Season MMA, and today I want to make a video talking about why I believe that Israel Adesanya has absolutely no chance of regaining middleweight gold, as we all know that he just lost to Dricus Du Plessis at UFC 305 in a pretty dominant way, in my opinion. I think Israel Adesanya won round 3, but Dricus won rounds 1, 2, and submitted Israel Adesanya in the 4th. But I just want to talk about today why I truly believe that Israel Adesanya won't have a shot or won't have another opportunity to beat or to win or even fight for the UFC middleweight title, because I think that UFC middleweight division is getting incredibly good. I think those new and upcoming fighters are going to be some of the hardest matchups for Israel Adesanya, and I think that truly he is going to have a very hard time in the middleweight division. If you guys enjoy the UFC content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. That's the best way to help support the channel. And while you're down there, please turn on the post notification just so you guys are always updated with the latest UFC content. But with no further ado, let's jump into the video of why I believe Israel Adesanya will not capture UFC gold in the rest of his UFC career. So Israel Adesanya just lost to Dricus Du Plessis, as I highlighted a little bit earlier, in a very dominant fashion. Now, I don't want to get too much into that. I have other videos on that on my channel. If you want to go talk about that, I can link it right here, but go watch the other videos that I have recapping that fight. But Israel Adesanya is now not the champion, and he's going to have to climb the rankings again, and I think there's a couple reasons that are going to be very hard for Israel Adesanya to do so. The first one I want to talk about is internally for Israel Adesanya. He's already been the champion. What has he gained from this? He's gained money, and he's got all the fame he wants. He's got a UFC legacy, but really, what more can he possibly get from winning fights or being the champion? Because he's already done that. In the middleweight division for Israel Adesanya, I don't think there's going to be any fire in that. So possibly an opportunity going up to light heavyweight to get a rematch with Alex Pereira could be something to really light a fire under Israel Adesanya, and I think that wouldn't be a bad option. Now, the only glaring deficiency in this is that Israel Adesanya is a lot smaller than someone like Jan Blachowicz, Alexander Rakic, Magomed Ankalaev, and you would have a really hard time if you look at Alex Pereira going up from middleweight and Israel Adesanya going up from middleweight. Izzy's natural weight division is 185, and he's one of the only fighters in the UFC who actually fights at their respective weight division. Another fighter on the top of my head that actually does so is Ian Machado Gary. I know on Fight Night he usually weighs about 180 pounds, which is crazy to me considering that he looks a ton bigger. But Israel Adesanya is a natural 185er. He's not cutting unnecessary weight to get to the weight class, and truly I think going up to the light heavyweight division would be a bad move for Izzy. He already fought Jan Blachowicz at the heavyweight division, and there was a glaring size difference between the two individuals. So I think that Izzy is going to have a very hard time. He can't cut to welterweight. I think going up to light heavyweight is too big of a jump. So I think his only solution is to stay in middleweight. And like I kind of highlighted, I think that there's going to be a lot of mental setbacks for Israel Adesanya to really be able to go and capture that title. He's beat a lot of these guys in that middleweight division. And I think as you fight guys harder, or as you fight guys more, it's going to be harder to win them. Take that to a football or an NBA analogy. If you look at a season series, it's really hard to win, let's say, 4 games in a row and get a sweep in an NBA series, considering that you're playing teams over and over and over again to where you get to see and you get to relive and fight over, these different attitudes. In these fights, it's like the Robert Whittaker 2 fights that they had. First fight, Israel Adesanya knocked out Robert Whittaker. Second fight, Israel Adesanya won by a very, very close decision over Robert Whittaker. So I'm not that confident that he can go in there and beat someone like Whittaker again. So I just think that truly it's going to be very hard for Israel Adesanya to have that hunger, that mindset to go in there and win these fights against these contenders. Now, the fights that I can see him winning and wanting to try him would be a Sean Strickland rematch, because he got embarrassed in that fight. I think a Hamza Chimaev fight could be a good fight. Some people who really rub him the wrong way would be good fights for Israel Adesanya to take, because there is genuinely more than just a fight on the line. So I think that Israel Adesanya is going to have to take his time, really pick his opponents, to put a bullseye and put some hunger into him to really get the best Izzy out there for these fights to happen. But laying out the middleweight division real quick, this is the other reason that I don't think Israel Adesanya is going to have a great time in that middleweight division. I think a lot of these middleweights can actually beat Izzy now, and not saying that Izzy doesn't have, he's not a great striker, and he's not one of the best strikers of all time, and that he doesn't have skills. But you look at that, like I said, going back to that Robert Whittaker fight, that first time Whittaker had a very hard issue with the Israel Adesanya fight. Second time he almost went in there and beat Izzy. In my opinion, he did beat Izzy. So I think Robert Whittaker would beat Izzy the third time. I think Sean Strickland still beats Israel Adesanya. I think his style is Israel Adesanya's kryptonite, and I think he's actually a harder fight for Izzy than someone like Dricus Du Plessis. But I still think that Dricus is going to go in there and submit him, and that is the champion, the number 1 ranked fighter, and the number 3 ranked fighter. Someone like Nasruddin Imavov, I think Israel Adesanya would beat, But if that fight gets anywhere near the ground, I think Imavov is a way better submission threat than someone like Izzy. I think he's going to have an advantage over the ground, and I think that's going to be a very hard fight considering Imavov is fast, he's very intelligent, and he's a very good fighter and a very underrated fighter in that middleweight division. Someone like Brendan Allen would be a hard fight for Israel Adesanya because of that grappling ability, the submission threat. Yes, he moves a little wonky sometimes, but I think that would be a very hard fight for Israel Adesanya to win. I know someone like Marvin Vettori, who's in that middleweight division, who fought Israel Adesanya, is a grappler, but he doesn't have the striking to back it up. Someone like Brendan Allen would definitely have the striking to back up a fight with Israel Adesanya to be able to get it to the ground. And I think that would be something that would pose a really big threat for Israel Adesanya to lose in different situations. Now, if you look at someone like Khamzat Chimaev, I think he beats Israel Adesanya in a first-round flurry, and I don't mean that he beats a lot of these different individuals. I just think that Israel Adesanya would have a very hard time on the ground, considering that Khamzat has such a bull rush on him that I think in that first round, it would be very hard for Israel Adesanya to withstand it. Now, if he did, I think he beats Khamzat, but it all is in that first round. There's a bunch of different individuals in that middleweight division who I think could honestly prevent Israel Adesanya to getting that title shot. I think he beats a lot of these middleweights in the UFC. Someone like a Roman Dolidze, like I highlighted, a Marvin Vettori, people like that, a Kevin Holland, I think he beats. All those individuals I think Israel Adesanya beats. But the top talented, true, high-end middleweights, I don't think Israel Adesanya is going to stand a chance to really ultimately beat. So that is why I believe that Israel Adesanya is going to have a very hard time getting the title, because I think that these middleweights in the UFC are not only getting better, they're getting more skilled, they're getting more well-rounded. And considering that Israel Adesanya came from the kickboxing department, his kind of very niche thing in the kickboxing department is his speed and his accuracy. And I'm not saying that's not a good or bad thing, but it's really hard to win fights in a mixed martial artist standpoint when speed is your biggest thing. We've all seen it since Israel Adesanya is doing it, but as he's getting older, it looks like he's getting a little bit slower, and a lot of these different fighters are looking and learning of how to evade Israel Adesanya's attacks. Now, Alex Pereira's power, that is one of the easiest things to transfer. He hits like a truck. You don't have to be fast. You don't have to have a lot of different situations. If you get hit, you're done, and that's what makes Alex Pereira able to transfer weight classes and able to have such a success in kickboxing in the UFC. Now, Izzy, yes, he puts a lot of volume on you, but it's really hard for a lot of these individuals to win, considering that he isn't the most well-rounded fighter. Another fighter who comes to mind is Max Holloway, who's very fast and very accurate, but Max Holloway is a lot more well-rounded pound for pound than someone like Israel Adesanya. So I do believe that Israel Adesanya is going to have a very hard time getting that middleweight title back. I think that his title reign is over inside the UFC. Not saying he can't be a prominent figure. He can't challenge for the title again very soon, but Israel Adesanya is going to go up there and have a very hard time challenging for the title against these fighters like Robert Whittaker, Sean Strickland, Dricus Du Plessis, Kyle Berhalo, Nasruddin Imavov, Brendan Allen, and Khamzat Chimaev. Those fighters, I think, could all have a chance at beating someone like Israel Adesanya, and that is ultimately why I think the fighters will hold Israel Adesanya from another title shot, as well as the mental walls and the mental strain that there takes to get back to challenge for the UFC title. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fights at MMA, and please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you guys enjoy the UFC content, and please leave a comment down below of what you think about this take that Israel Adesanya will never have another chance and recapture UFC gold. He can 100% get himself back to a title shot. He can beat these guys in a very dominant fashion. I'm not saying that every single fighter that I named out of the Whittakers and the Berhalas and the Chimaevs will beat Izzy, but those are definitely more toss-up fights than someone like a Marvin Vettori, a Kevin Holland, or a Roman Dolidze. So truly, I think Israel Adesanya has a very hard path in front of him back to UFC gold, and it's up to him if he really wants to do it, because it's going to be a very hard mental battle. It's going to need for him to become a little bit more well-rounded, mainly in his takedown defense, which I know he's got great takedown defense. I know Dricus is one of the greatest grapplers in that middleweight division, but he's going to have a very hard time in the middleweight division securing wins, especially since a lot of these fighters are getting better. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fights at MMA, and I will catch you guys very soon with more UFC content and news. But before that, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on the post notifications just so you guys stay updated with the most recent content, and please help us reach 1,000 subscribers very soon. Subscribing is free, and every subscriber means so much. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon with more UFC content and news.